What's up, YouTube? From Steph to you. Just bringing you a video about the New England Patriots and this whole um, Tom Brady Deflategate issue. I first off want to preference this video by saying that although I am a Patriots fan, I try to be objective. I'm not one of these blind homers that just thinks that nobody that I root for can do anything wrong or anything like that. But the reason I didn't come out with this video sooner was because I figured that any video I would have made shortly after the whole report being released would have just been said as, oh, he's just backing Tom Brady or whatever. Wanted to wait for all the facts to come in and kind of see how it played out a little bit. And I actually did read the whole 200 plus pages of the Ted Wells report. I followed a lot of media through this whole thing, and I just want to touch on a few points here. We could sit and talk all day about the Ted Wells report and pick it apart, or you can make an argument for some of the facts in there. But I just think that some of the things that should stand out are, one, for the people that act like Tom Brady, everything he's accomplished in his 14, almost 15-year career is now somehow undone. And I mean, that would be like saying that if you had a person that was a good person, they did a lot for other people, and then one night went out and got drunk and had a DUI, that now all of a sudden everything that they've done in their life is now undone. And I think that's so crazy. And fans and people that think that, I mean, you could dislike Tom Brady, you could be a fan of other teams, but with all the bad athletes out there, you got the Michael Vicks, the Ray Rice, the Ben Roethlisberger, all these guys go on and on. I think that if Tom Brady, let's just say he did it, knowingly taking a little bit of air out of a ball in a blowout championship game, if that's the worst you can come up with, then I'd take that any day over a wife beater or a rapist or a drug addict or any of those things. The other thing I wanted to point out was everyone's talking about the length of the suspension, the 4 games, and the Brady haters are saying things like, oh, well, it's because he didn't cooperate with the investigation. But you have to understand, there's only 16 games in an NFL season. It's not like in baseball where if you're suspended for 7 games, you've got 78 plus other games to make it up. The original rule, I believe, was a $25,000 fine in the NFL rule book that dates back to, I believe it was like the 1940s, about air pressure. Now, I'm not saying that we should do it 25,000, because 25,000 then is a lot different than now. But you could do, I don't know, $250,000. But I think the thing here also is that people are forgetting is that PED users make a decision to take a drug or a needle or something like that, and they go ahead and inject themselves with a steroid or other drug to give themselves strength or just different competitive advantages that different drugs have. People that take testosterone, we all know what that does for you. So that is something that you're doing as an individual that is against the rules, and you're doing it to yourself. Whereas with Tom Brady, and those people get 4 games. Whereas in Tom Brady, the best that we could possibly surmise or accuse him of is generally knowing that something happened and not reporting it. Now, that brings me to my other point, is that I've been watching, I watch ESPN First Take, I watch all these other shows, and I thought it was laughable, absolutely laughable, that you get guys like Ryan Clark, Shannon Sharp, that say things like, he should be suspended, 8 games. Shannon Sharp said that he wouldn't, if Brady was going to go in the Hall of Fame, that he wouldn't show up. It's like, you know what? First of all, the fact that you're getting guys that, like Ryan Clark, I mean, he's a defensive back who has been torched by Tom Brady for years. So asking him, why don't we just ask Robin what he thinks of Batman? I mean, and different things like that. But or the Joker, I should say, the Joker, what he thinks of Batman. It's kind of funny to me, that I mean, who cares what Ryan Clark says? Who cares what Shannon Sharp says? No one but Tom Brady and those 2 guys know what happened. These investigations, first of all, I don't know if anybody's ever sat on a jury. I've sat on a jury, and um, one of the juries I sat in on was someone was being sued for being injured. It was a personal injury civil suit, and the people that were being sued, or not, they brought in all sorts of doctors and experts, and they had a very good attorney. But like the gentleman who was suing the company, the injured gentleman, he had an attorney who pointed out kind of same thing here. In his closing statement, he had said, this organization over here, uh, I won't give out the name, but they have assets and partners to protect. And so they went out and got a hired gun attorney who has doctors on his payroll who will come in and pretty much say whatever they want to say. There was actually a doctor who I hadn't seen that gentleman for over like 6 years who thought that he still had an intimate knowledge of this man's condition. That doesn't really matter. My point though is that when you have people that are on your payroll and then you have them do an investigation for you, it should almost always come out in your behalf. How much money has Ted Wells made from the NFL? You have the the Jonathan Martin case. He's worked for the NFL for years, and so the fact that they hired him, who's, I would just essentially call it being on his payroll. I mean, he might not necessarily, it might not work out exactly like that, but who has a long-standing relationship of doing business with the NFL, to think that he, for $5 million, wouldn't write the report in the favor of the NFL, well, I mean, that's expected. Why else? What would Ted Wells gain from doing any favors or putting the report in any sort of way, blaming the NFL and or being in favor of Tom Brady? Tom Brady doesn't employ them, so what did they have to gain? And my last thing, just to kind of put this to bed, I don't want to make this too long, but I just want to also say that, look, I don't personally believe that Tom Brady did it. I definitely know he didn't personally himself do it. So that's why I think that you can't try, put him at 4 games where a PED user himself does the thing, injects himself or takes the pill or drug or whatever. Tom Brady, the best you could say is that it happened, or that he ordered it to happen, which I don't believe he did that either, but that he ordered it or knew about it. And like I said, back to the other NFL players, I'm sure Ryan Clark, if he saw someone on his team putting Vaseline, on their jersey, or doing some dirty tackling or grabbing someone's eyes, he would definitely run and go tell the referees, right? I'm sure every player that has come out and talked about Tom Brady, that as soon as they saw something that would disrupt and conflict with the integrity of the game, they would surely run and go and tell, right? Because we don't have late hits. We don't have, I mean, if you want to go against the rules, chop blocking is against the rules. Face masks is against the rules. Yet it happens every game. Because people are trying to get an advantage. What's the advantage of getting someone by the face mask? It's they're breaking away from you, and you want to get them down by any means possible. So you break the rule. Now, again, back to Tom Brady, I don't think he himself did it, but let's just say he did. Let's just say he's 100% guilty. One, they only used the balls for half of the game, and they scored 17 points, I believe, in the first half. Then they came out with the regulation balls after halftime, scored 28 points. Also, and this is the most key thing I want people to think of, forget that you hate Tom Brady, forget that you hate the Patriots, forget you hate me, or you just hate anything. Just use reason for a second. If it is cold weather in January in Massachusetts, and I don't know if you guys know anything about anatomy, but when it's cold, your feet and your hands, your extremities, they get numb. Blood goes to your core to keep yourself, alive. That's just the natural reaction your body has. If you're out in front of 80 plus, 90 plus thousand fans in a game to go to the Super Bowl, and you have the ball in your hand, let's just say an average of 1.5 to 2 seconds per snap, with 11 defensive players to read and players rushing at you, and knowing what your playbook, who we all know the Patriots playbook is one of the most complex, trying to read the defense and make sure your guys are all right. With 80,000 fans and it's cold, I don't think you're going to be sitting there going, huh, this ball feels a little light, just feels a little off. You're thinking, let's get this thing out of my hand as quickly as possible. And so, like I said, it's so easy for everyone to sit back and say, well, surely he knew the difference. Well, I don't think in that moment that you can really, you're worried about how the ball feels. And even if he did, what was he going to do? I'm sure he thought that they were good. They're checked before the game. The whole point of this is the NFL has repeatedly done things to try to put themselves in the good light. Let's not forget this past year, Roger Goodell did come against heavy fire for his ridiculous, laughable 2-game suspension of Ray Rice. So Ray Rice gets 2 games for knocking out his fiancée. Brady gets 4 for not cooperating. Oh, and for all the people that want to try to say, well, he didn't cooperate because he was guilty. If you send someone a text message and then they send one back to you and then you have their phone, the text messages should be in the phone, right? And Ted Wells came out later saying, oh, well, I didn't necessarily want his phone. I just wanted him to take pictures of the text messages and send them to me. Well, what would that prove? If you're trying to do the Scout's honor, cross my heart, hope to die, that Tom Brady, so what Ted Wells was hoping to gain in that is that there was anything incriminating, that Tom Brady would take a picture of it and send it to him? I mean, that just seems pointless. They had all the text messages from McNally and from the other guy, the other guy, the locker room attendant. They had their text messages, so anything that Brady would have texted them, they would have had it. But when you're Tom Brady and you're married to Gisele Bundchen and you are the poster boy for the NFL, why would you cooperate with the independent investigator that's going to do you no favors? I mean, he's not. This wasn't a warrant. He's not any sort of regulatory or sworn peace officer or any sort of higher power. He just is an internal investigator for the NFL, and I'm sure that the Players Association, just like Stephen Gostkowski, they didn't give up his phone either. So I just want you guys to know that regardless if you think Brady did it or not, the 4-game suspension is ridiculous. The first-round draft pick is disgusting. And if you want to take a draft pick, I would chalk this up to kind of, I mean, look, the Falcons pump fake crowd noise into a stadium. That gives you a competitive advantage because it messes up the communication for the whole defense. Regardless if the ball was deflated or not, Tom Brady still had to throw it. They still had to catch it. I mean, obviously he wasn't perfect because the ball that was supposedly caught, or that it was turned in, was off an interception. Remember, to DeQuell Jackson? He threw a ball across the middle. DeQuell Jackson picked it off. So obviously he didn't throw quite as accurate because he just threw an interception with the deflated ball. Or how, whatever you want to say. But I think this comes down to the NFL didn't, their referees kind of just do this like an informal thing. Check the balls real quick. And usually they're supposed to sign them off, which Walt Anderson did not do for this. They couldn't remember which gauge they used. And it's funny because the other gauge that they used, the one with the logo, it read their ball, the Patriots footballs, as being regulation. So which gauge they use, whether or not, it's not even a matter so much of if he did it or not, because I think that the competitive advantage gained from even if he had done it would be minimal. I think a fine would suffice. But if you want to take a draft pick to make it even par with the Falcons, fine. They got a 4th round, I think, taken, so okay, do a 4th round. But to take a 1st-round draft pick and a 4th-round draft pick and the heaviest fine in the history of the NFL levied against a team of $1 million, which they're going to say, oh, well, it's $1 million. What does that matter to the Patriots? Well, for the most of us Americans, $1 million is a lot of money. So good for you if $1 million isn't very much. But $1 million is $1 million. And it's the largest fine ever. I don't think this warrants largest fine ever. If anything, Bountygate should have been worth largest because that wasn't even gaining competitive advantage. That was just being malicious. And anyway, I just wanted to see what you guys think. Like I said, I know I'll have plenty of Patriot haters or people that'll get on me for being a Patriots fan, but I'm not even coming at it from that angle. I'm just really just trying to say that this punishment is ridiculous. as far as compared to other things. You're really pretty much charging Tom Brady as a PED user, and like I said, also he's never done anything before. It's a first offense. I mean, even in our own society, first offense, you're always given kind of the benefit of the doubt, and especially since this proof, if you want to call it, the Ted Wells report, is really just guesswork, and it's purely speculative at best. And I don't think it should hold much water in the public eye. But the problem is, you know, when the Patriots have won 12 out of the last 14 division titles, 4 Super Bowls in the past 14 years, you know, you get teams like the Jets fans who haven't won a Super Bowl since 1969. You know, they're envious, and I would be too. You know, it kind of sucks to be in a division. You know, you get the Bills that haven't been to the playoffs. I think a record. I think it's what, 14 years, 15 years since the Bills have been to the playoffs, and then the Dolphins, who can't ever seem to get out of their own way and tank every year. Those fans will always be upset because you're in the sandbox with the big kid, and you know, Tom Brady has pretty much owned all their teams for, I mean, since he's been in the league pretty much. And but like I said, just look at the facts objectively, and really to all the other fans that just, they don't even read anything. They saw, oh, Tom Brady's a cheater, now they just spew, you know, nonsense from their mouth. You know, just keep quiet and let the adults talk, because like I said, if you want to make valid points, that's fine, but no one's going to want to listen to you when you spew garbage. So I believe Tom Brady should get this reduced down to a fine, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's the greatest quarterback of our, maybe probably ever. And yeah, so let me guys know what you think. Subscribe, comment. This is from Steph to you, and have a good one, guys. We'll see you.